and welcome to another interesting English language class. My name is Precious Balogun. Our theme for today is vocabulary development, and our topic is differentiating between British and American spellings of common words. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify American spellings of words as opposed to British spellings of words. Next, recognize the difference between English and American spellings of some words. And lastly, use the British form of spelling of these words in sentences. English language is a widely spoken language. It is a language spoken in most parts of the world. And how did this language get to these countries? It got there through the British colonization. Countries like the United States of America, some parts of Africa, especially Nigeria, were colonized by the Britain. Now, English language also has variations. Let's take a look at these variations. There are many variations of the English language, but the most prominent are the British English and the American English. Now, the difference between the British English and the American English can be found in the pronunciation, the meaning, and the spellings of the words. Now, let's take a look at an example. In the aspect of pronunciation, the Americans, when you have a vowel before the letter R, the Americans pronounce the R, while the British do not. For example, we have the word car. The British will call it car, but the Americans will pronounce the R and call it car. Now, some words have different names depending on the type of English used. For the British English, it is called trousers, and for the American English, it is called pants. Also, in British English, it is called holiday, and for the Americans, it is called vacation. The British call it flat, while the Americans call it apartment. Next, we have university, and it is known as college in America. Also, we have the word chemist. The Americans call it drugstore or pharmacy. And lastly, we have queue, which is known to be line in the American English. Having seen these, let's go on to see the spelling variation between the British English and the American English. Now, how did the spelling variation come about? The spelling variation between the British English and the American English began after the writing of the first dictionaries and the standardization of spellings. Let me tell you a brief story about it. Now to my story. Remember I said that the variation between the British and the American English started after the standardization of spellings and the first dictionaries. Now, the first dictionary was written by Samuel Johnson in 1755, followed by the American writer Noah Webster, who wrote his own dictionary in 1828. After the writing of these dictionaries, there was a standardization of the spellings of both the British and the American English. So that is how we came about the spelling variation between the British and the American English. One thing you should know about the spelling variation between the British and the American English is that the British retained the spelling of some words borrowed from other languages, while the Americans did not. For example, we have the word spectre, which has a French origin. It is spelled with the letter R coming before the E, while the Americans spell it with the E before the R. The Americans spell words as they are pronounced, while the British retain the spelling of the original word. Having known all these, let's go on to see the different spelling variations between the American and the British English. We have the RE versus the ER. The British English spell words like caliber, center, fiber, luster, and other words you can see here ending with RE, while the American English spell these words ending with ER. But note that in both the British and American English, some words are spelled ending with RE. Words like acre, massacre, mediocre, and ogre. Next, we have the spelling variation OUR versus OR. Words like color, flavor, behavior, honor, labor, splendor, neighbor, and humor end with OUR, while for the American English, they end with OR. Also, we have the spelling variation OEA, OE, AE versus EA and E. In the British English, the word diarrhea ends with OEA, while in American English, it ends with EA. While the word encyclopedia is spelled with AE, while in American English, it is spelled with an E. Also, we have the word physics, spelled with AE, while in American English, it is spelled with E. We also have the word esophagus, spelled with OE for the British English, but for the American English, it is spelled with E. And we have so many others with these variations. Next, we have LOGUE versus LOG. In words like analog, catalog, dialogue, monologue, homologue, and prologue, the British English ends them with LOGUE, while the American English ends them with LOG. But note that the Americans also make use of the British spelling. Next, we have the doubled consonants. For the British English, words like cancelled, counselor, modeling, signaling, quarreled, and traveler are spelled with the double letter L, while for the American English, they are spelled with the single letter L. Also, for doubled consonants, words like appall and distill for British English are spelled with the single letter L, while for the American English, they are spelled with the double letter L. Next, we have omitting the letter E. While spelling these words, aging, rateable, likable, lovable, movable, usable, unshakable, and sizable, the British English spells them with an E, but the American English omits the letter E. Also, we have the SE versus ZE. In the British English, words like apologize, recognize, organize, authorize, symbolize, equalize, capitalize, and appetizer are spelled with the letters SE. But for the American English, they are spelled with the letters ZE. But note that British speakers also use the letters ZE. Also note that some words are spelled the same. Words like prize, seize, surprise, and so on. Prize is spelled with a Z, seize is spelled with a Z, and surprise is spelled with the letter S. Now, other spelling variations include ENCE versus ENSE. In words like defense, offense, and license, the British English makes use of ENCE, while the American English makes use of ENSE. Next, we have Y versus I. For the word tire, the British English makes use of Y, while the American English makes use of I. Moving on, we have T versus ED. The British English for words like burnt, dreamt, and leaped, British English makes use of the letter T at the end, while the American English makes use of the letters ED. Let's take a look at some other variations in spelling. For the British English, the spelling of annex ends with EXE, while that of America ends with EX. The spelling of draft for the British English ends with UGHT or also FT, while for the American English it ends with FT. Also, we have the word program. For the British English, it is spelled with a double M and an E, or just ending with an M, while the American English also ends with an M. And lastly, we have the word skeptic. In British English, it is spelled with a CE or a KE, while in American English, it is spelled with a KE. I'm sure by now you can tell the different spelling variations between the British English and the American English. Now let's go on to take a spelling practice. Sentence 1. Okoro has diarrhea. Sentence 2. The organization is running a free program for interns. Sentence 3. Olamide is my next door neighbor. Sentence 4. I'm skeptical about seeing a counselor. And lastly, sentence 5. There is a mall at the center of my town. Now from these sentences, do well to pick out the correct British spelling. I'm sure you've enjoyed the lesson so far, but before we go, let's see all we've learnt so far. First, we've learnt that the most prominent English dialects are the British English and the American English. Also, we've learnt that the difference between the British English and the American English is in the pronunciation, meaning, and spelling of the words. And lastly, some English words have different spellings. Words like center, color, prologue, and so on. It's question time. Question 1. Which of these options below is the correct British spelling of the word liter? Option A, L-I-T-E-R. Option B, L-I-T-A-R. Option C, L-I-T-R-E. Or option D, L-I-T-E-R. The correct answer is option C, L-I-T-R-E. Question 2. The color of the traveler's skin shows that he is aging. What English dialect is used in the underlined words above? I underlined the word color, spelled C-O-L-O-R, travelers, spelled T-R-A-V-E-L-E-R'-S, and aging, spelled A-G-I-N-G. We have option A, American English, option B, British English, option C, Scotland English, or option D, Nigerian English. The correct answer is A, American English. This is where we draw the curtain for today's class. I'm sure by now you can differentiate between the British English and the American English. Until we meet again in our next class, see you and bye!